And good afternoon. Can acupuncture and homeopathy help relieve some of the symptoms women experience during premenstrual syndrome and menopause? We are going to look at some evidence and case studies today. I am Amita from Nourish Doc, a platform for natural and holistic therapies. Presenting this topic, we have Dr. Randy Martin, a licensed acupuncturist with over 35 years of experience. Dr. Martin is an expert in nutritional counseling, herbal, and homeopathic medicine. He has authored hundreds of articles in national and international magazines and science journals. He's written a book on optimal health called How to Get It, How to Keep It. It's a self holistic guide. Welcome, Dr. Martin.
Hello, thank you. It's good to be here.
Well, thank you so much and welcome again. So let's start with what exactly is premenstrual syndrome?
PMS can involve many different types of symptoms, but to basically summarize, it's any symptoms that arise prior to the menstrual flow. So let's say someone has increased craving for chocolate or migraine headaches, or irritability, anxiety, difficulty sleeping. It can be virtually any type of symptom defined as occurring prior to the menstrual flow, and that can be anywhere up from ovulation of a couple of weeks before it, all the way to just a day or so before it. But then the symptoms usually stop when the period actually starts. Diarrhea, digestive problems. People don't normally associate these with PMS, but they are a digestive problem, a vision problem, could even be a sore throat, or if someone is prone to things like eczema or psoriasis, or rashes of any type, they can also have that kind of problem. And certainly the more common would be breast swelling, weight gain, and food cravings, specifically sugar or salt.
Okay, so how does, let's talk about a little bit on the menopause. So what are the symptoms for menopause? What, you talked about the PMS, talk about the menopause symptoms as well.
Menopause is as their symptoms vary as much as the individual. If a woman is in good balance in terms of her overall health and her hormones, then she's likely not going to have any menopausal symptoms at all, and she's going to transition very easily right in, along with maybe just a few supplements. But on the other extreme, there can be extreme irritability, moodiness, severe dryness, lack of sex drive. The period can come and go. And of course, the most well-known symptom is the hot flashes. The sooner any of these symptoms are treated and we get to the core of the hormonal imbalance and the overall health imbalance, the easier it is to cure it, and the shorter the length of time that the symptoms will appear. So that in an ideal case, if someone were receiving acupuncture, homeopathy, nutritional counseling, Chinese herbs, they ideally should be able to get rid of any menopause or PMS symptoms pretty quickly.
Okay, so let's talk about different treatments for premenstrual syndrome, as far as the food and the vitamin supplements are concerned, and then we'll go into your case studies.
Sure, okay. Well, as with most health problems, you can resolve them on your own almost with the use of the right supplements, which are over the counter, and the right foods. A whole grain, organic diet, no white flour type products. So no sugar, no white bread, no white starchy foods, eliminating gluten. But oftentimes people think that means they can't have bread or spaghetti or pasta. That's not the case at all. You just want to have it gluten-free and whole grain, with such grains as millet, brown rice, quinoa. And these days it's very easy, even in normal supermarkets, they have whole grain. And in some cases, in addition, they have organic whole grain, gluten-free. So that would be the ideal. And then heavy on the veggies, but cooked, not raw. A lot of people think that they're eating really well if they have a lot of raw salads. And that's actually not the case according to Chinese medicine. We want to have mostly cooked foods, or at least lightly blanched. So that means lightly steamed. Instead of a raw salad, you just want to lightly steam your carrots, beets, any greens that you're eating. And that's the way to have your veggies. And then you could eat them room temperature. You don't have to eat them hot, but you don't want to eat anything that's cold when you're eating it or that's raw. Raw meaning uncooked. So the typical juice fast kind of diet is not a very good diet for any hormonal imbalance. And then you want to make sure that you're getting plenty of protein in the form of fish, eggs are fine, poultry, grass-fed meat is okay. And some kinds of beans are good. That's a good protein source as long as you combine it with your whole grains, then it's a complete protein. But the fattish diets that are like more the cleansing diets or the detox diets are not really a good diet to eliminate hormonal problems because you do need the good fats, which are in the protein, the coconut oil, avocado, and these kind of things, and along with grass-fed red meat and fish and eggs. It's those good fats, which are the precursors to the hormones. And that's why they're so important.
And the vitamins, the supplements that could help as well, along with the
supplements, but the ones we've outlined here are the main ones.
okay.
For bloating, vitamin B6, that would be about 50 milligram per day. Might cause a little increased urination, but it'll help with any kind of water retention. Magnesium, the best kind is magnesium glycinate. That doesn't generally cause a digestive upset. And I usually recommend about 500 milligrams split throughout the day. That not only helps for cramps and uterine and back pain, but it helps for all kinds of muscle aches and pains. It's a natural anti-inflammatory and muscle relaxer. And then, of course, the old standby vitamin C, at least 1,000 a day, as well as a well-rounded B vitamin. So B vitamins come in balanced B. You can get a B50 or a B100, where you're getting basically all of the B vitamins in one, which is better than just taking an individual. And that's a good preventative for any kind of stress or hormonal problem as well.
Okay. And the homeopathy, so any particular one on homeopathy that you recommend?
The homeopathics that I find myself most commonly using are one that's not on my slide here. It's called Lachesis, the Bushmaster snake. It's Lachesis. That's particularly good for hot flashes, and if a woman is a stronger personality type and tends to lash out when they're not feeling well or when they have a hormonal imbalance. That would be in direct contrast to a woman who may retreat and want to be left alone, close the door to their room, and they may, when they're not feeling well or during that time of premenstrual or menopause, just say, leave me alone. I feel better when I'm alone. They're very tired. They want to sleep. And it may feel like there's kind of a dark cloud that kind of comes over them. They may also have a craving for vinegar or sour type foods. The calc carb is the type of personality is very solid. Often in the family, they'll be the ones who everybody depends on as the breadwinner. They could have their body type, physiognomy could be more of a stout type versus the sepia type, maybe more of a skinny type. Weakness, fatigue. They may, each homeopathic type craves certain foods. They may crave eggs. And they may have muscle cramps or weakness or an actual deficiency of calcium if you were to do a hair test, hair sample test, or a blood test. In that case, the calcarb works really, really well. We also have pulsatilla. Pulsatilla tends to be the type of person who could be sad, they could have some grief or sadness. And in talking about what's going on, they may easily just start to cry. That's kind of a keynote symptom, or not so much that there's anything wrong with it, but we use that as a keynote in homeopathy, that there might be a sadness, sensitiveness to a lot of things. They tend to crave bread and butter, and they might sleep with the windows open, or like the breeze, or like to be outside. Pulsatilla is the windflower, so they like to kind of blow in the wind. And then chamomile is a good, kind of a sedative, really good at night for excessive moodiness. We also use it for kids who are crying and screaming a lot to calm them down. So any kind of moodiness that goes along with PMS or menopause will often respond really well to chamomile. And you can also drink that as a tea, as well as use it as a potentized homeopathic remedy.
So these are available off the shelf, or they need to consult with the homeopath to?
Well, if the symptoms are very mild, there is absolutely no harm in purchasing a homeopathic remedy from one of the local health food stores. In fact, many of the health food stores carry formulas, so you may actually find a PMS or a menopausal homeopathic formula with these exact remedies in it. Those will sometimes work if the problem isn't very severe. And I encourage people to experiment, try on their own, but don't just keep taking it if it's not working. Instead, what that means is one needs to actually go to a classical homeopath, someone who's trained in homeopathy, and have their case taken, including the whole history, the personality, what's going on in their life, as well as all of the physical symptoms, to pick the remedy that most closely matches their set of symptoms, because that'll just shut off the symptoms much more quickly. So it depends on the individual. It's always advisable to have a practitioner that one goes to. I always suggest that.
Okay, all right. So let's go through some of the, if you could share some of the success stories that you have treated. So we have very interesting ones, a few of them here.
Yeah, this was a woman I treated a few years back, age 25. The boyfriend would get very angry at her due to her irritability and severe emotional swings at the time of her period. And she noticed that she had a lot of cravings for sweets and chocolate and white flour products, carbs, cinnamon buns and stuff like that. I prescribed for her the homeopathic remedy that we were just discussing, which is the sepia 30C, along with the fish oils, which are anti-inflammatory and the precursors for a lot of the hormones. Magnesium gluconate or glycinate, either one of those. Evening primrose oil, again, a precursor to the female hormones. I was treating her weekly with acupuncture, doing points on the stomach and the legs that would affect the hormones and balance them out. I prescribed meditation daily, 20 minutes a day, daily exercise. I had her just walking 20 minutes a day. That was pretty good for her. And then she got at the local health food store a woman's multivitamin mineral formula, but it has to be specific for women. And they often also have them for age categories. And within about 4 weeks, within about one cycle, she hardly had any cramps or pain. And after a couple months, I just told her to come back if the symptoms ever came back. Her boyfriend was very happy. She was very happy. It basically changed her life. She basically said to me, "You changed my life."
That's nice. So when you said about the evening primrose oils, they're like diffusers, or how do you you massage it?
Little capsules with the oil in it.
Oh, okay. It's not like an aromatherapy or something like that.
No, it might come in that form, but this is the oil similar to the fish oils, but it has a different initial oil precursors. So by doing the fish oils, omega-3 with the evening primrose, it balances out the hormones better than just doing one or the other. It's like a little tiny one of those soft capsule things.
Okay, okay. So let's talk about a case of a woman who's close to menopause.
Yeah. This is one of my patients who started beginning to start menopause, beginning to notice hot flashes, vaginal dryness, low sex drive, irritability, some hair loss, and some weight gain. That's because the thyroid often begins to shut down at that time. I prescribed for her a herbal formula called Belfem. The company is Dr. Ron's. This is a really good balanced hormonal formula with dong quai and some Chinese and some Western herbs in it, three times a day, along with fish oils. I gave her that homeopathic remedy lachesis because she tended to have that personality type of lashing out and a strong business type woman. Again, for her, weekly acupuncture to balance the hormones. We did complete blood work because it's very important to make sure that there's no thyroid imbalance. A lot of women at this age, the thyroid begins to slow down, and many medical doctors do not do a complete thyroid panel. They only run the TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone. That is not enough to get a handle. There's actually 5 or 6 thyroid readings that we need to see to make sure that the thyroid isn't just borderline low, rather than it has to be really low for the TSH to show up. But we also want to treat it if it's borderline low, which in this case it was. So I gave her Simplex F, which is a female hormone balancer, and that's from a Standard Process. And she really loved the outcome. After about a month, she was feeling a lot better. And then we also added on some Chinese herbs from a company I use called Evergreen to strengthen the borderline low thyroid, which had we not done, most likely in 5-6 years, she might have had a full-blown low thyroid and had to actually go to the Western doctor and take medication.
So yeah, no, I think that's alarming, that because at that age you have the thyroid. Now, what I'm wondering is, like, after 1 month, you said she was feeling much better, but then do they stop? Do you stop the medication after 1 month, or do they have to take something to just make sure to, just to maintain that they don't have flashes again?
This is a pretty conservative regimen. So I usually have them continue on it, as well as come back in for acupuncture once a month for maintenance. I always tell my patients they're welcome to try to wean off the supplements, but these supplements are pretty basic. The Belfem, they can usually cut that down to maybe 1-3 times a day. Every woman is different, so we have to play with the amount, but everybody basically needs to continue on some degree of supplements in order to keep their hormones balanced and healthy. The reason for that is nobody eats perfectly, and we're all under a lot of stress.
That's
if we were just on a meditation retreat and relaxing in our life, we could probably get away just eating well. But in reality, nobody's really like that. Everybody's under stress. So the supplements pick up what the stress knocks down.
You're absolutely right. I mean, we really have to go where the Dalai Lama lives, close there, to be in a bliss, state of bliss. But we all can't afford that. All right, so let's talk about, this is our last case, and we are open for questions. Please think about all the questions. I see participants in the Zoom. So this is another case of a PMS girl and a teenager.
Yeah, this was a teenager just coming out, and she unfortunately was having menstrual problems ever since she started menstruating. But her mom didn't realize that you could do something about it. She would always get very moody, whiny, refused to get out of bed, didn't want to go to school, sugar cravings, severe acne, and sometimes led to migraines just before her period started. Also in her life, her grandmother recently died, which made her increasingly like a recluse, especially around her period of not wanting to leave the house. So in this case, we gave a homeopathic remedy called Nature Mirror 200C, just one dose. That's a remedy, homeopathic, made out of common table salt, but it's really good for grief and sadness, especially from the loss of a loved one, loss of a family member. We started her on weekly acupuncture to balance her neurotransmitters, meaning her endorphins and her serotonin and her dopamine. Got her on the fish oils, three per day, 3 times a day. Magnesium glycinate, 300 milligrams a couple times per day as a general sedative and to relax her. And then the woman's multivitamin mineral formula, which you can easily get over the counter, or for me, I was one that I like. And then we did the blood work, and she was low on iron. So we did give her iron. That's also another really good reason to check the blood. Many people, not only women, are low on iron, but it's borderline. So their fatigue is coming from the borderline low iron, and they feel completely different once they start on iron. And then we used some 5-HTP, which is a form of tryptophan, when she was feeling irritable as a natural sedative. Many girls, women, end up going on Prozac or other drugs for the irritability and borderline depression, which can often just be treated with natural supplements such as 5-HTP, theanine and GABA and things like that. And we can test for the neurotransmitter imbalances as well. So this is a case where this young lady was really happy. I mean, it basically changed the rest of her life because she had no idea that she didn't have to go through life like this.
Yeah. No, this is very encouraging. Any questions, please? These are short sessions. What we want to do is we want to show you the evidence. Dr. Martin comes from, on our show every month, and he would talk about acupuncture, how acupuncture and homeopathy can help for different conditions. But if in the audience, people who are in Zoom, if there are any questions, please, you're welcome to put them in chat and in Q&A session. Okay, while if I'm just going to ask you a question while someone else
Sure.
is thinking. So is there any simple home remedies? You talked about the homeopathic medicine that people can buy over the counter. Any other thing that you could recommend someone, who's having mild PMS or menopause, home remedies that one can do?
Well, there's most likely a lot, but I'm not big on home remedies. I do like teas, however.
Okay.
And all you have to do is go to the health food store, and fortunately now most of the health food stores have teas. They have PMS tea, menopause tea, headache teas, and I'm big on teas. As you can see, I'm drinking my tea almost all day long, and each tea that I drink does have different medicinal values. It's an easy way to get your fluids in, to get your 1 to 2 liters in per day, and at the same time having some medicinal value. So
the Chinese tea you drink, is it a different type of Chinese teas, or these are just?
I drink different Chinese teas. Right now I'm drinking kukicha tea, which is a Japanese tea that's mildly caffeinated. It's called a twig tea. It's a macrobiotic tea. And it's a roasted twig tea. I like it because it has a rich flavor, and I don't drink coffee. And it also has mild stimulant because of the twigs. And then after I finish this, I'll probably drink some turmeric with cinnamon. That's my other favorite one. I try to do as much turmeric curcumin as I can, and it comes as a tea now, so it's really easy to drink. Ampalaya, which is another really good one from the Southeast Asia area for digestive problems.
So teas would be, you recommend, you talked about the chamomile tea earlier, and
that's sedating and relaxing.
Yeah. And also, I think right now, if you go to supermarkets, you can see PMS tea and so many different teas from all over the world, for that matter.
But they shouldn't drink it iced, because ice is a cold, and that creates coldness in through the meridian flow, and then that's going to create other stagnation problems and liver and spleen problems. So it should also always be at least warm or room temperature.
Okay. 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 Well, if there are other questions, please let us know. Otherwise, we'll wrap up this session. If you
And
want
they
to
can always email me directly as well.
Yes. Oh, I do see a question. Yes, you can email care@nourishtalk.com if you want to consult with Dr. Randy Martin. He's graciously there to help you. All right. So I do see a question come up. Let me just stop sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. So there is a question that's coming up. With so many brands out there, how do you discern the validity and purity when purchasing vitamins and supplements at stores such as Sprouts? It's a very good question. I get so confused.
That's why I carry supplements, so my patients don't have to worry about it, because there is no way of knowing when you buy a commercial brand how pure it is. And if you buy stuff off of Amazon, it's oftentimes actually mislabeled. It's not actually even the product that you think it is. So I tell my patients, just buy the products from me, because there is no way to know for sure. If you want to get it yourself, then try to buy brands that have been around for a long time, like 20 years or so. And you can go online and see if that company has their own testing. Make sure they test for heavy metals, toxins, pesticides. Yeah. The companies I sell do all that, but there'd be no way of knowing that unless you know it or do your own research.
Sure. So this is your brand, or these are companies that you...
My own brand, but the companies that I've been selling and that I have a relationship with for 10, 20 years. I personally know the owner of the company, and I've been using it a long time, and I'm very comfortable that there's no toxins in them and no heavy metals. The Chinese herbs have all been checked for toxins, so you don't have to worry about that either. Otherwise, these days it's pretty much up for grabs.
That's right.
Amazon commercial world, you just don't know.
Yes. Any other questions before we wrap up? Okay, this was a very good question. I myself, as a user, we are inundated with so much data, and it's very difficult to understand what to buy. All right. So I think with that, we'll wrap up this session. We will be coming up with another session next month with Dr. Martin on a completely different subject. If you can't think of any questions right now, you're welcome to email us. I've put the email in the chat box. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much, Dr. Martin.
Thank you. Have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.